Hey, good morning, Goff and God. This morning, listen, hope everybody's doing good. It is Tuesday morning, and it is windy, but golf will happen this afternoon, so we're always grateful for that. I want to talk to you real quick about a devotion that I read this week. And kind of opened my eyes a little bit. It was the one we talked about earlier this week on Facebook about the pastor who was on the subway. He got off the subway, and there was a beggar there in the bottom of the subway selling pencils. And the pastor was in a huge hurry, so he just threw some change in the cup and went on to get on the subway, onto the train. And he stopped and he thought for a second, and he actually got back off the train, and he went and took a couple of pencils from the beggar. Excuse me. And he realized that well, actually, he didn't think any more about it. Took his pencils, got on the train. A few years later, after service, that same man walked up to him and thanked him for taking those pencils because it gave him a sense of purpose. That's what he said. He said when he actually sold something, instead of just begging and people just giving him something, when he sold something, he had a purpose in life again. And I like that devotion because it got me thinking, how many people do we pass on the streets? I know that right now in the town that I live in, there is a particular couple that they know when the busy times are at Walmart and the grocery stores, and they it just never fails. Like they're there every time, and I've never once stopped to give them anything. But this devotion really got me thinking to get to know them. So last weekend after a show, there were some homeless that had wandered into the venue that we were playing at for a drink of water, maybe to use the bathroom, whatever. And I just thought I would sit down and get to know them a little bit. And I think that's an important thing. The lesson in the Bible where Jesus met the woman at the well, he already knew her story. I mean, he's God. He knows everything, right? But he took the time to talk with her and took the time to get to know her. And that really, really stood out to me. And I think that we can apply that in so many different ways. But I love the subway story because when this man who obviously had nothing left that he thought he had in life, but when the pastor took the pencils after giving him money, it was a business transaction. And all of a sudden, it gave this guy a sense of purpose. And it really got me thinking, how many people in this life lose their hope in humanity, in God, because they don't have a purpose? I think of people in the nursing homes. I think of people who are sick and have been put on disability. I think of those people. What they must feel inside to have gone from a place where they feel like they were contributing to their families, to themselves, and then go to a place where they're not. And so we always come back to that verse, like we always hear people talk about Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the purpose I have for you, to prosper you and not to harm you. And I think I struggle because I see people post so much stuff on social media about, man, the world needs Jesus and the world needs this. And you know what? It does. But it needs you and I to be that Jesus. They're not going to people just don't open the Bible to open the Bible. They open the Bible if they've been exposed to something and they have questions, or someone has directed them to do that. We are Christ on this earth. Like that's scary. I mean, it's extremely disappointing to know that I'm a representative of Christ, because I fail every single day, every minute of every day. But it doesn't mean we don't try, and it doesn't mean we don't share the grace that we all know is bestowed upon us when we accept Christ. And I so I just thought, man, we have to be that person that sits down and has that conversation with that person and says, get to know them. We've got to get to know who they are, what they enjoy doing, what they're talented at, what they're good at. Look, if they're still breathing, and they're still alive. They still have a purpose here to serve in the kingdom, and we have to get to know them. Those homeless people on the street, I remember one time that I just pulled over the car and gave them a pack of water. And we just sit and talked and for a little bit, and they were blown away that it was. I also remember a time that I tried to do that to somebody, and they just wanted the money. They knew that if they were in the busiest spot of the day, but me sitting there talking to them, I was cutting into their profit, you know. But that's okay. That's okay, because we need to have conversations with people, and it's important. So now you're saying, okay, well, how does this apply to my golf game? Well, I don't think you have to be poor financially to be poor in spirit. And there are lots of marriages hurting. There are lots of relationships hurting. And on the golf course, it could be someone you would never guess. But to sit and have a conversation with them and invest in them a little bit to get to know them as a person, find out their interests, find out their talents, how are they contributing to the kingdom of God, and if they don't know that, that's our job. Everybody needs a purpose. And I remember back when I first started working with horses, a lot of old cowboys had this phrase, every horse needs a job. You know, for every horse that was a problem horse, the answer was, well, that horse just needs a job. You know, that horse just needs a purpose. And there's some truth to that. You know, there's a lot of truth to that. And so I think that no matter where you're at in life, through your day, whether you're driving home from the grocery store or you're on the golf course, there is somebody that you're going to come across that we just need to invest in people. And that's exactly what Jesus did, man. He just invested in people. He spent time talking with them, getting to know them. It's an amazing witness. And so this whole week coming up to Easter, when someone doesn't know Jesus and doesn't know what Easter is all about, it's the perfect time for us not to preach to people, but to get to know them and invest in them a little bit and help them to discover their purpose of why they're here, because they're still here for a reason. And, Jesus is the answer to everything, but, Jesus was a hands-on person. And I think that's important. So I love that. I love that story of the pastor in the subway who, because he went back and took the pencils that he paid for, and we created a business transaction for that beggar. And all of a sudden, that beggar, a light bulb went off in his mind, and he had a sense of purpose in life again. And 2 years later, he walks up to that pastor and thanks him because it changed his life. And so I think that's an important lesson. Anyways, a lot of rambling today, but Easter weekend, let's invest in some people, get to know them, and encourage them, because that's what Christ did for us.